All right, guys, so some big news in the AI music space. I told you that I would definitely come back here on the channel and give you guys any heads up on some big developments that happened. And this is certainly one of them, just because I was personally kind of involved in some of this actually playing out. And I think actually it's a really, really positive sign. It's not a perfect deal. It doesn't mean that all of our concerns about AI have been put to rest. But I do think that in terms of if you had to get like some kind of clarity on where the future of this issue will go, like whether or not AI companies can just train on publicly available copyrighted music without permission from the copyright holders, you couldn't have asked for a better settlement, right? And a better sort of conclusion, at least to one part of this story. So up until now, people have been asking me, Jesse, is this AI thing going to really replace us? Is it really a threat? Like, what do you think this is going to go? I've been having to kind of just do this because there's so many lawsuits out there. One of the biggest ones being these major labels that have sued Suno and Udio about a year and a half ago. And without any sort of settlement or judgment in any of these cases, I can't make heads or tails as to really where the future is going to go and what we can look forward to or what we have to be really worried about. But now we do have some clarity, okay? Again, it's not a for sure crystal ball into the future, but this is a big deal. And this really does sort of, I think, it's the canary in the coal mine. It's a harbinger of what I think is going to be happening and moving forward with other lawsuits and other sort of big legal fights going on between copyright holders and AI companies. Okay, so what happened? Just last week, Universal Music Group and Udio settled. There was a big lawsuit. Universal Music Group was involved with it. And essentially, they, rather than fighting out this long legal battle, they decided to settle and come to an agreement. Now, you might think that's bad news. Like Universal Music Group, if they're working with Udio, that's bad. That means they're selling out their artists. That means they're going to just jump on this AI thing and take it for themselves and then just completely destroy their own, the humans that have basically devoted their lives and energy to, increasing Universal Music Group's catalog. It's not good to work with these companies. I have a different take on this, and I'll explain to you what my take is maybe towards the end of this video. But first, let me explain to you what this deal actually is and what it actually means for Udio and Universal Music Group and what I think it might mean for Suno. Suno has been kind of leading the pack in terms of being an AI music platform that we've been keeping our eye on, okay? First of all, though, a huge thank you to this gentleman right here. This is Ed Newton Rex. He's been on my channel before. I consider him pretty much our strongest ally for somebody that has been fighting tirelessly for years now, trying to make sure that AI companies like Suno and Udio get consent from copyright holders to train their AI models and pay us and license our data to make a profitable for-profit company on their end. So Ed, just as a personal thank you, I know that you are one of the few, if one of the only people that have been out here really championing this cause, and you've been working publicly in many ways, putting out great articles and doing a lot of stuff on social media. But I know you do a lot of stuff behind the scenes that nobody ever sees, nobody ever hears about. And you are working as sort of this just champion of us collectively, for those of us that are in the sync licensing marketplace, but also just all of us that are human creators and composers. We just, on behalf of all of them who might not even know that they should be thankful to you, thank you on behalf of all of us. So you guys should go check out his article, by the way. I'm going to link it below. I'm going to give you the TLDR though. Okay, UMG and Udio settled. What are the terms? Basically, what they settled to do is they agreed to work together to launch what I'm just going to call it Udio 2.0 in 2026 for next year, okay? But it's not going to be like Udio 2025 and before. There's going to be some big changes. And as you'll hear very quickly, I think every single one of these changes is a pretty big negative for Udio, and to me kind of spells the end of their whole business model. That might be a big claim. You might not believe me. Hear me out. Let me make this argument. Okay. One of the first things that's going to happen when Udio 2.0 in 2026 rolls out is they're going to obviously have to pay Universal Music Group for two forms of basically data, okay? One on the input on the training, which is what they didn't do before. So their cost to train their AI models before, zero. They didn't pay anybody anything as far as I'm aware of, okay? They're going to have to pay now. So basically part of the settlement, Universal said, yeah, I'll work with you. Let's relaunch your cool platform there. This time, buddy, you're going to pay me on the way in, okay? You're not going to just train off of my entire catalog and then, oops, we'll try to work it out later. Nope, on the way in, you're going to pay me, okay? Not great for Udio, because before they had zero cost to train their models. I don't know what the new cost is going to be, but it's not going to be zero, okay? So it's not great for them. also, Universal Music Group, as a part of this agreement, said you're also going to pay us on the output. Okay, so every time somebody comes to udio.com and prompts something in, and it's a Universal Music Group artist or a band or something, and the output's kind of like remixing one of their tracks, or it's like emulating their style, you're also going to pay us for that too. Now, I don't know the specifics of how they're going to make sure that each artist or each band gets exactly what's owed to them, or how they're going to keep track of that. Maybe it's in the prompting, maybe it's going to be in keywords. You know, those are all details. We'll keep an eye on that. But now Udio has to pay two different ways, on the way in and on the way out. Again, before they were paying 0 on the way in and 0 on the way out. Kind of puts a big hole in their entire business model right there. Like that right there alone might be enough for this business model to not be viable in the future. We'll see, maybe it will. Secondly, the data that Udio is going to be able to get access to is going to be restricted to just Universal Music Group. Okay. Now, I don't know if that'll change by the time this model comes out, but let's just assume that that's going to be the case. You would think, wow, well, Universal Music Group, you know, and all the artists that do opt into this, by the way, that's another benefit for Universal Music Group. They get to have their artists and bands opt in if they want to be a part of this. Let's just assume, you know, maybe some of them won't, but let's assume a large number of them will. And you're like, well, that's still like thousands probably of artists, right? Under the huge Universal Music Group banner. They're going to be part of this data set that users can get access to and prompt cool new music and remixes. Yeah, not a bad number, but compare Universal Music Group just alone to their data set to just the artists that opt in to what Udio was using before, which was everything. All of the other labels, every artist, every band, literally everything they could probably get their hands on to train their model with at a 0 cost. Your data set just got massively shrunk down. So the amount of flexibility and the diversity and the variety of different types of prompts and music you can even generate from this now have really shrunk down. How fun is Udio going to be with a much smaller data set that they can actually pull from to generate music from? Remains to be seen. Doesn't seem very, very good for Udio. The biggest change, and this is what I think might spell the actual death of Udio entirely, is a part of this deal is that Universal Music Group said, you will not allow your users to download or export anything that they generate on Udio platform moving forward. And that change has actually already been implemented on Udio's platform as of today, okay? Even though Udio 2.0 with this new deal will be launched in 2026 sometime, I'm guessing a part of this agreement was, hey, we'll work with you and we'll get this launched. But for right now, you got to stop this exporting and that kind of thing, because basically what people are doing is they're generating stuff on Udio, uploading onto Spotify, and basically they're diluting the pool of royalties and our human creators and our publishers, and we're not getting the money that we used to be getting. Now these AI prompters are getting it. So basically, you're going to cut that off right now. If you want to find out how pissed off that made the Udio customer base, just go to the Udio, the Reddit forums, go on X. The sentiment is very, very, very soured right now. And users are threatening to cancel. They're threatening to get out of there. They're threatening to just go anywhere else if Udio is saying you can no longer export this. Yes, of course, some people are going to get around it. There'll be hacks for this. People will still export it, of course. But just remember that the vast majority of people are probably not going to do that. And up until this, no exporting rule was implemented, it was literally a click of a button to get your MP3, your WAV file, whatever you needed, and then another couple of clicks to basically upload it to Spotify or wherever you wanted to go, TikTok, YouTube, that kind of a thing, right? So now if it's much more complicated, it's more risky to do it. You can basically get your tracks maybe taken down because you violated a terms of service, right? There's just way more friction now to generate music on there and do anything else with it in terms of monetizing it or putting it on other social media platforms. So it will definitely kill the vibe. It'll kill the fun. It won't be as enjoyable, and it's definitely as profitable for a lot of users. And so with these three major changes rolling out to Udio, to me, I don't feel bullish about that kind of a platform. You're basically preventing anybody from monetizing it. You're limiting the data. You're limiting what people can actually do with it. And of course, now Udio has to pay so much more money to actually keep this thing working. So as a business and as a product in the market, doesn't look good. To me, it doesn't look good. So why would Udio agree to this, right? And why would Universal maybe agree to this, maybe knowing all this? Here's my little conspiracy theory. I don't have any sort of special insights. I haven't talked to anybody personally or directly about this. Okay, this is just me, my intuition, my business sense, and my understanding about maybe the music industry as a whole. I think what happened is in the smoke-filled rooms, in the back conversations, and the back and forths, and all the legal goings on between Udio and the Universal Music Group, is Udio probably came to the conclusion at some point they don't really have an argument. They don't really have a defense doing this, and they don't really feel confident that they would actually win had this thing gone to an actual trial. And so they realized, okay, well, if we don't really feel strong and confident about what we can do here, what's the next best thing, right? Well, the next best thing is, of course, to just settle and to figure out how can we create some sort of an agreement with Universal to actually just keep our platform online and try to still be profitable and try to still make this thing work. Universal Group, why would they settle, right? If they feel confident that they've got all the cards, why would they want to settle and go all the way to the end with a trial? Well, this is my thinking. They might see the writing on the wall in terms of if they've got all the cards to basically do this. There's a couple of ways they can go about it. They can basically drag this out as a legal battle all the way till the end, which could take years, because maybe Udio could keep, delaying things and asking for delays, all that kind of stuff. It might still take many 5-10 years to finally get to the end of this kind of thing. Or what you do is you go, we've got all the cards, we've got strength here, and what we could do is we could settle with Udio and basically force them to pay us now for the training that they should have paid us on the first go round. On Udio 1.0, they definitely should have paid us. They didn't. Don't worry about it. Let's help you work on Udio 2.0. Now you're going to pay us, and we're going to basically get what's owed to us from what you did before. But we're also going to put a lot of restrictions in place so that even though we are getting paid to allow you to train off our music, we're not going to cannibalize ourselves and allow you to export music that will basically go just compete against us in the marketplace. So we're going to chop off your ability to do that, and we're going to extract money from you in the meantime. And we're going to basically put all these restrictions in place that essentially kill your platform, right? So congratulations. Now we're going to do this like above board. You're going to license us. You're going to pay us input and output. And this is definitely not going to work out for you in the long run. But at least in the short run, we will recoup on what we feel were the losses from what you did to us, from what you sort of spilled into our game a little bit. And this will be the best thing we could basically do to help ensure that we are going to maintain our dominance in this space. Now, again, I get it. People are saying, well, Universal is still a greedy big major label and like they're not going to share that any with their artists, et cetera, et cetera. I agree. I get it. I understand. Probably nobody's going to be extremely happy about whatever deals they do strike with the artists and what revenue they share with Udio over this. Okay, great. That could be maybe a separate topic, separate issue. But that's what I think is definitely going on here. And so at the end of all this, what I'm always thinking about is what is Suno thinking right now, right? Because Suno is also facing major lawsuits from the major labels and it hasn't been settled yet, right? So they just got this news. I don't know what kind of conversations have been going on between all of them, but this can't feel very good for them at all because now they know what the sort of fate of Udio is with this kind of a deal. I don't know. I have no. All I can say is that if I were an investor with Suno right now, or I was somehow intimately involved with them, I'd be very, very worried and concerned for the future of my company if this is how a settlement with a major label from my competitor ended up. I don't know if it's going to be much better for Suno. So we'll obviously keep you guys updated and see how things are going. But this is your turn now to let me know what you think about this. Obviously, please do read that article below. That would be really, really cool for you to get a full 360 view on what's happening, at least from Ed's point of view. And I do agree with a lot of what he's saying. And do you feel that this is also a step in the right direction for copyright holders? What other concerns do you have moving forward? And where do you think this could potentially go for Suno? I would really like to hear your guys' point of view and your opinion, so please do leave those below.